Hello, YouTube world. Thanks for checking in the Khaliis take. Now, today's take of the day: can the big three for the Brooklyn Nets overcome their defensive issues? Now, before we get into that, please like, subscribe, leave any comments, hit that notification bell also so you can get the newest videos first. Now, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. I believe that the Brooklyn Nets, I believe that the big three, Durant, Harden, and Kyrie, I believe they'll play well as the season goes on. I believe they'll get better as the season goes on. I believe there'll be three nuclear weapons for this team that a lot of teams just can't compete with. But do I believe they'll have defensive issues as they go further and further in the season and getting into the playoffs? Absolutely. When you look at this team is constructed of three offensive fire powerhouse talents. And when I look at Durant, when I look at Harden and Kyrie, I'm seeing nothing but offense. I don't see any defense. Now, the closest one, I would say Durant does play defense pretty well at times. But, James Harden, well, he's hit or miss, I'll say. But Kyrie doesn't play any at all. Kyrie is just strictly, if you want 40, 50 points, 30 points, whatever, Kyrie can give you that. Kyrie can go off and, Kyrie got the best handle in the league anyway. So he loves showing us, his new moves and, the new handles he probably learned over the summertime when he was off, or just in his downtime from the NBA. Kyrie loves to put on the show and he does it very well. I'm not saying that he doesn't, but when you think about Kyrie Irving, you don't think about defense. You think about somebody that's a liability on the defensive end. You think about somebody who you want to go out and score 40 or 50 points and just outscore the other team. And that's what you think of when you think of all three of their players. You think that they're just going to outscore everybody, and that's just their formula for winning. But at the same time, the deeper as the season goes on, you're going to play teams that will contest, teams that won't lay down for them. And if they think teams are going to lay down, like I said in one of my previous videos, they're mistaken. Now, the game last night, Sexton goes for 42 points. They didn't even have Kevin Love. And from what I'm hearing, Sexton's like their second or third best player. Personally, I would think he's the second best player or first, up there with Kevin Love. But at the same time, you can't let Colin Sexton get 42 points and just go off like that. I mean, yeah, he's a decent player from what I've seen, but he's definitely not on their level. And I know anybody can get hot in the NBA. It's the NBA. It's a make or miss league. I don't want that to, be, misconstrued or anything like that. But, when I think about it, how did that happen? And then, the fact that you gave them 140 plus points with nobody on their roster that I really even know of, that's unheard of. And you have three of the best players in the NBA and you lost to a team that doesn't have a top 20 player in the NBA. That baffles me. But see, I think it's losses like that will hurt them in the long run, because when you think about, like I said, what their structure is predominantly offense. Even their coach, Steve Nash, and I like Steve Nash growing up. I watched him play a lot growing up. I watched him, dominate, a lot in the league. But at the same time, he was coached by Mike D'Antoni, which was all offense. And I know Steve Nash is going to try to preach defense to this team, but it's hard for this team to, grab the concept of defense coming from a guy who was pretty much predominantly all offense, which was Steve Nash, their coach. So it's like, it's going to be hard for him to teach them something that he never really implemented in his game. Not saying that Steve Nash never tried to implement that in his game when he played, but it just wasn't there. He probably, he put a good effort in. I've seen him try to play defense, back in the day, but it really wasn't his strong point. So I'm not sure if he'll be able to implement that to the Brooklyn Nets, and the big three and the rest of the crew there, that defense comes first and they'll actually abide by it. Because, I think they can talk it, but I don't know if they can really live it. And I can tell you this much: if they have defensive problems going up against teams like the Cavaliers. If that continues going forward, I can only imagine what might happen to them in the playoffs. It could be another epic collapse. It could be a collapse worse than what the Clippers had last year. Because ultimately, if they lose, if they don't make it to the finals, it is an epic failure for that team, the Brooklyn Nets. So these three players, they have to make it to the finals, which I believe they will. I don't believe it'll be too much issue there. But winning it, the finals, is my thing. Because if you have to play either the Lakers or the Clippers, you're playing teams that have more chemistry, more camaraderie. And they do have two of the top five players, or two of the top 10 players between the Lakers and Clippers, or should I say four of the top 10 players, you add PG, all that stuff. They got four of the top 10 players in the NBA between the Lakers and Clippers. So I believe those, if the Brooklyn Nets play one of those two teams in the finals, it can't be all offense, because you're going to have to play some defense. Because I know for a fact, if you play the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard's defense on one of those big three, he's going to get some turnovers. And turnovers usually generate or end up in points for the other team. So when you think about that in its entirety, you have to come out with a defensive mindset and take care of the basketball. And one thing I see with the Brooklyn Nets, as far as their defensive issues, they can't really defend anybody because they're not really good enough defenders, but they are magnificent on the offense. But at the same time, that's something they just need to work on over the course of time of the season and get better at it. Because if you're going up against teams, if you let the Cavaliers score 140 plus points, well, I know what the Clippers and the Lakers can do to them if they're clicking, if they're on all cylinders. So I don't think that. I think their defensive issues is real. I think it's something that people need to pay attention to, and I think it's something that they need to work on ASAP. Because if Colin Sexton can drop 42 points on their defense, if you want to call what they do is playing defense, then I can only imagine what LeBron, Kawhi, AD, a lot of players, Giannis, I can only imagine what a lot of other players could do to their defense in a 7-game series if it's going to play like that, if they're going to play that way. But like I said, their offense can make up for a lot. And I believe their offense will. But I just believe when they play certain teams, they're going to have to play with the edge on defense and come out and dominate the game that way. Because their offense is going to come. But you got three of the best players in the NBA. Your offense is going to come. Your offense is never going to lag. One of them is going to be hot pretty much every night, if not 2 out of 3. You better hope 3 out of 3 isn't. And then, they got the likes of Joe Harris and other players on the team, that can contribute offensively as well. Now, like I said before, I do believe their defensive issues is real, because when the Jared Allen, Karis LeVert loss, those two right there, to me, I don't know. I just feel like I don't know, especially the Karis LeVert, like them not having Karis LeVert really is bothersome to me. Because when you take a player like that off your team, you're taking away a player who would play hard on defense. Karis LeVert would try, even though he's not like the best defender, but he would try. He would put effort in a little bit. And you look at his offense. When you're missing players like that, to me, I think that really hurts them in the long run, because that's one of those other guys that could, well, I don't want to say he can help you win a championship. I'll say this. Karis LeVert's one of those players I think that is part of a championship team that you need. You need a player like him on the team. I'm not saying he's gonna make the difference to help him win a championship or something like that. I'm just saying I feel like certain players that they don't have now, I feel like part of their bench crew, I feel like that definitely could hurt them going forward. And like I said, the Jared Allen one's a big one too. He was improving a lot as well. So. But like I said, I think, with Kevin Durant playing the 5, the way they have him playing the 5, I assume that from what I'm seeing, that Harden is Harden would be, he's playing like the point guard anyway. I don't know if he's actually the point guard for the team, but he's playing like the point guard for that team. So I would say, with what they have right now, where they're constructed, they'll be fine. I'm not gonna get too overwhelmed by this loss last night against the Cavs, but it is something to keep your eyes open for. It is something to be alert for, because for that game to go down like that, and you had to go into double overtime to beat a team without even a top 20 player in the league, without even a superstar on the team, without even the best player on the team, and you had to go in double overtime and they beat you, well, that puts a stain on the Brooklyn Nets. And until they change that, they might have issues going forward, but we'll see. It's the early part of the season. We're only like 16, 20 games in. So, right now it's kind of hard to really, foresee a lot of things. But based on last night's game, it is a little bit alarming. And I think that's just what the doctor ordered for the Brooklyn Nets, for them to, wake up on defense and figure out exactly what they need to do to gel on the other side of the ball. Because I think on the offensive side, they'll be fine. But that's not the issue at hand. The issue at hand is, like I said, can they make adjustments when it comes to the defense? Because their defense is that's what's going to carry them not only to the finals, but them making defensive plays is going to possibly help them win the finals, whoever they play. And it's just going to have to come down to that when it comes to the X and O's. It's just going to have to come down to the basics. They're just going to have to get down in the lab and, work hard at it. Because from what I saw last night, um, I'm not sure if that team can win a championship. But like I said, it is early, so we'll see how the season goes. I think all three of them will have a hell of a season, of course. And I can't wait to see how it is. I can't wait for the ride, to see exactly how far they take it and what they can do going forward. And I can't wait to see them play the premier teams, the Lakers, Clippers, teams like that, to really see how they match up. So, we'll see how that goes. And like I said, we'll see how they are defensively going down, the further in the season. Because further in the season, I say All-Star game, a little bit after All-Star game is where we could really tell about where a team is and, what they're made of and, what like what they represent, you know what I'm saying? Like, are they a defensive team? Are they just an offensive, just powerhouse team that's just going to outscore everybody? Or, you know what I'm saying, they got it all gelling. We'll see as the season goes on. I definitely can't wait. But, hey, till next time.